Mets and Padres trade rumors been a big topic of discussion. What type of deal are we looking at here?
Well, it could be a bunch of different things, actually. These two teams have engaged quite a bit over the last week or so, from what I understand. Now, with A.J. Preller as your GM in San Diego, that sometimes doesn't mean a whole lot because he's probably having 100 different conversations at the same time. So who knows if anything comes to fruition here. The last I checked in, nothing was seemingly imminent. But there are some guys who would appeal to the Mets. The list goes on and on. Nick Pivetta, the starting pitcher. There's the bullpen guys led by Mason Miller. There's Ramon Laureano in the outfield. And on the Padres side, they're looking to unload some money from what I understand. So Pivetta is somebody that comes up quite a bit in discussions. So if ever there were two teams that maybe need each other in the trade market, it's the San Diego Padres and it's the New York Mets.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty safe at this point, and you mentioned it well, that Pivetta is probably going to be playing for another team next year. Just the money there. You know, I think he's in year 2 of a $55 million deal. So I think the Padres are going to be pretty active with that. The Mets need a starting pitcher. Pivetta's coming off a really good year. I think at 3 out of the past 4 years, he's made 26-plus starts. So he's a guy that would fit into the Mets situation pretty easily. I mean, the other two guys you mentioned, too, are perfect. I mean, Mason Miller, I mean, how soon can I sign for that? I mean, we're watching Pivetta here put up great numbers. I mean, that would be welcome in the Mets rotation, clearly. But, yeah, you bring in Mason Miller, who would be a huge issue to the bullpen. And even Laureano, you know, they need an outfielder. He's got a good bat. Defensively, you know, so-so. But that's another guy that fits if you can match up with that. And you mentioned with Preller, yeah, he's going to be moving a bunch of players here. So I think the Mets are going to be jockeying to fit.
And you think Pivetta, though, peaked last year? Could you expect that type of performance again if the Mets were to acquire him?
Well, Sal, it's easily the best year of his career.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I think every other season he's had a 4+ ERA. And last year he was 6th in the National League, well under 3. So it was a dynamite year. Used his curveball more and has seemed to clean up a lot of the inconsistencies and command issues that he might have had earlier in his career. But Dave is right. I mean, he does post, Sal. He's a guy who has had, I think, 4 seasons of 30 starts in his career. You know, look, it depends on what you believe in what he accomplished last year. Was it you know, sort of him on the upswing or a fluke? And you know, the contract that he signed last year with the Padres is a little bit weird because he didn't get paid very much the first year, and then I think the number goes up to like $19 million this year. So that's one of the reasons why, as the Padres look to move some cash, that he comes to mind here, because he was by far their best pitcher. He started game 1 of their playoff series and struck out 9 in 5 innings. He's got great stuff. Yeah,
okay, but if he did that throughout the course of his career, A, he'd be making way more money. B, I'd be in line to bring him in. Instead, it's like, yeah, I'd take a flyer on him like every other guy that David Stearns has brought into the Mets. It's, yeah, he could be good, he might be good, he was good at one point, but I need somebody who's a known commodity in that Mets rotation. To me, Pivetta's not that. He would upgrade a little bit, but who knows what you're going to get from him. Well, what about the Lindor talk that's been going on? Because there's been a lot of smoke there with Lindor potentially being dangled, or I don't even know about dangled, but the Padres being interested. Is there any chance the Mets do, in fact, trade Lindor?
I was told in no uncertain terms that's probably unlikely. I don't see that happening. I feel like there's a bunch of guys who could be on the move when it comes to the Mets, a bunch of guys on the Padres who could be on the move. I don't see Francisco Lindor as being one of them whatsoever. Going back to my point from earlier, I think the Mets view this as, we have 2 big stars in Soto and Lindor. Let's find some guys who complement that and bring our pitchers along for the ride.
And I do like the idea, though, then, if Lindor's not going that way, then taking on a bad contract or whatever, or some money from the Padres, and maybe getting better players along with taking on the contract. If you don't want to spend the money on the top free agents, then do that.